Light the fire, feel the beat. Gday Gridiron can't be beat. Lift your knee and bring the heat. Perhaps the MVP elite. From the outback through the field, we got tackles hard to steal. Catch the passes, make it real. Gridiron warriors never kneel. Gday Gridiron, down under and beyond. Gday Gridiron, yeah, the podcast come on strong.
Merry Christmas, Aussie Gridiron fans, and welcome to the Gday Gridiron podcast, brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. It is, of course, Christmas week. We are at the end of a Week 16 feast of games that brought us so much action. Back on G'day Gridiron to do some reactions, and I have two very special guests with me in the studio today. Isaac is out just on that grindstone again, once again on night shift, so we've brought in two very capable pinch hitters. Let's go first to the other host with the most from the Aussie Gridiron Network, our good mate, Matty C. How you going, buddy?
G'day, mate! I'm thrilled to be here. It has been a long while since I've got to pull into the GG studio, mate. So I'm glad to be here, mate. Thank you for that intro, by the way.
That's all right. The car park is always empty enough for a Matty C to pull into. Okay?
Well, that's good to know.
And our other amazing guest that has joined us tonight to help us with some reactions is, of course, a GG OG, as we always introduce him, and it is none other than Pastry Press himself, MANJOT and MATTY. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. You know, there's the third host right there, AGN as well. So got all three hosts tonight.
Yep.
And speaking of pulling into driveways, I don't think Philip Rivers could pull out of one for sure.
Neither can Tyreek Hill.
Oh, no, Tyreek. I mean, how many driveways can he pull out of? Let's be real.
Been well documented. None.
Yeah. Philip could just struggle to get one, to be honest.
Tyreek Hill's got an entire city of driveways at the moment.
I think he actually has to do a census on his own. Like the US does a census every 5th year or 10th year or whatever. Yeah, Tyreek's just got his own census.
It's just a suburb in Florida these days. Boys, what a Week 16. There has been just some amazing games played, amazing football, a lot of high scores.
Yeah, and you can see that, like, my life is generally in the fantasy world, and you can see that in the leagues where I was keeping up with what was happening in people's semi-final matchups, that there were just points galore, which is a great thing, because that's what I love. I love every game to be 48-49, somebody wins, and hopefully the team you want wins, but I love seeing offense, and I love seeing points. It's not everyone's favourite way to watch football. Some folks are into those defensive purist sort of games, and I can really enjoy those too, but so much more thrilling when there's a lot of action, a lot of points.
Yeah, there certainly is. So many 30-point games, or teams getting to the 30-point mark this week, and some in multiple games. Titans-Colts, for instance, was an absolute banger, it turned out. It was shaping up to be a bit of shit show, but then it just it went off. For some reason, Titans or Rudolph really wanted to win that game.
I think Rudolph really wants a job next year. I think that's most of it.
I think the way the Titans are, I don't think Rudolph will really go that far.
I mean, it's Christmas. He always turns up when it's a Christmas game. So there you go, guys.
It is.
There you go. There's a classic dad joke right there.
Well, I'm pretty sure Mason Rudolph will start next week. You watch.
Yeah, I think something amazing would have to happen. Like, you'd have to get mowed down in a car park or something this week for it not to start. Have a freak Walmart accident or something.
Freak Walmart accident. mowed down by a motorised walker in Walmart.
Well, he's not the most mobile guy, so yeah, I can imagine like a 75-year-old with a little basket on the front of the little scooter thing chasing him down aisle 7 and just catching his heels or something. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, I can imagine that as well.
Straight to IR, mate.
Straight to IR. We had probably one of the games of the season that we'll have a little bit of chat about later in Eagles and Commanders. God, that was an absolute thriller as well.
Unreal, wasn't it? I did not expect that game to throw up as many points as it did in that sort of third, fourth quarter. It was fourth quarter, especially third quarter, it was starting to get a little bit of speed up. But man, got the fourth. Whoa.
Yeah, fourth quarters in Washington this year have been elite.
Yeah.
Very elite.
Very elite. And how about some of these eliminated teams that we've already talked about in the past weeks with Isaac. Some of them stood up this week and decided that they'd win a few games and destroy some of their pick chances in the good old tankathon for the 2025 draft. Panthers, finally, I've been saying it for weeks that they've just been foxing people and saying we could win games, and here they go, 36-30 over the Cardinals, no less. Destroyed the Cardinals' chances.
I mean, the Cardinals had all to play for too. There was not anything for Carolina to be playing for, and the Cardinals were there. Loser leaves the island, pretty much. They had to win. They didn't, and they get to think about it all off season now.
Yeah, well, the Cardinals end up eliminated now because of that. It's just because they went down to the Panthers of all teams. It's just insane. What was the other one? Oh, Raiders. The Raiders and Jags. I mean, it was who was going to lose this game? Which one of the eliminated teams was going to lose this game? And the Raiders ended up being the loser of the loser teams. The winning loser
of the tank ball.
The loser of the tank ball. Seems like we're going to have a tank bowl every week now too.
Problem is, I don't believe for a second that AOC and Mac Jones didn't both desperately want to win that. I don't think you could have told either of them, you're supposed to lose this one, guys, okay? Because the way they both played, they're a little bit too much, riding on it, I think, for personal stakes for each of them, because I think people had really dispelled Mac Jones as a worthwhile or relevant player at all from his tenure in New England, and he's actually sort of shown he's got some pluck here, and AOC is clearly just trying to show people he's a worthy starter in this league at all.
Their stats are insanely close together as well.
Yeah.
25 of 39, 247, and a touchdown for Mac Jones, and 24 of 38, 257, and no touchdowns for AOC. So close. So you're right. They both definitely wanted to win that game.
Nope. Going for it. That's a good day for both of them, to be honest.
That was it just shows bad defenses and bad offenses. I guess bad offenses win right there. There you go. That's the tank bowl rules.
Weirdly though, Matty, as a Jags fan, Mac Jones doesn't look all that horrible all of a sudden. No.
And I mean, and he's doing that as this game progressed too. He lost both offensive tackles. So he was doing it with, just some guy who's probably working at Foot Locker last week, trying to protect his blind side. And he still, he went from being 4 of 13 at one stage in the second quarter, that's abhorrent. That is not okay. That is not okay to turn up to work and put in a 4 out of 13 day at your job. And then he went 9 out of his next 10 and really sort of got his groove on. This was after the two tackles were gone. He hit this nice groove. And it, there was the 2 big fumbles on those drives, things that aren't Mac's fault that stopped those drives. And I just kind of feel like, it's the problem. You got these two teams with such limited talent in personnel, and they're rolling out with guys who may not usually see the field either, because they're just trying to evaluate what they got in some guys, or they suffer injuries in an already depleted for talent roster. And it's just, it just becomes a difficult game to watch. Manjot, I'm assuming you watched almost none of this game, right? You see what pops up on Red Zone, right? And that's about it?
Yeah, that was just a Red Zone game.
Thing.
Well, that was a Red Zone game, so I saw quite a bit. They were showing quite a bit of it.
The ball was never in the red zone. How did you see quite a bit?
No, but they still show. Weird thing about red zone is they don't just show red zone.
Yeah, it's whatever's closest to red zone, or they show 2 games at once, or even now they're showing commercials. God damn it!
Yeah.
NFL's corporate greed getting to Scott Hansen. Free my boy Scott. He was doing the right thing. 7 hours commercial-free football, not 7 hours of red zone football, please.
Yeah. I said it last week, Manjot. I'm enjoying this version of Mac Jones. This bit of like plucky, bit of a jerk, kind of like just being a dick on the sideline or having a laugh. Like, it's so different from the New England Patriots Mac Jones that we saw, where he was so wound up and so tight, and then he's just free and loose, and he's
Yeah, I'm starting to like him now. I never thought I would say that because I mean, I came on many podcasts of you boys over the years talking about how much I just did not like Mac Jones for his personality, really, and a lot of different things. But I think now that he's moved to Jacksonville, it's sort of freer version of him. I do agree with that. I mean, after today, I'm starting to get a sense that he can be a good backup in this league. I'm starting to do a full 180 on Mac Jones. I'm not there yet, but I'm starting to like him a bit more. So
A 180?
yeah, there's a lot.
That's not a 270.
Yeah.
How do you dislike Florida Mac? You know, everyone thought
I'm not.
Florida Mac.
Tom Brady
It's-
was
oh,
a
that's-
jerk. He goes to Florida. He's
what a
got
great
personality
name,
now.
Matty.
Same with Mac.
Florida Mac. Florida Mac.
Florida Mac.
You know
Yes,
what's
I
happening,
agree with
Matty?
that one.
You know what's happening to me?
Talk to me about it.
I'm adding another mediocre quarterback to the list. Hey,
There we go.
we've got
Let's go.
we got Baker,
love a
we
guy
got
who's barely a
Minshew, we got Jameis. Let's just keep adding Florida Mac to that
Florida
list.
Mac. Give me a Florida Mac. It sounds like an exotic burger. At,
Florida
your
Mac
favorite
Daddy.
burger restaurants, doesn't it? There you go, Florida Mac. Writing that one down. It's going in the merch store.
Mac Daddy Mac. You
Yeah,
got full Chris.
right there.
Full
Put it on a
crisscross.
t-shirt, Matty.
Put it on a
Go
t-shirt,
on a
Matty.
t-shirt.
Put it on a t-shirt. Put it in that merch store. And where can you find that merch store, Matty? How's that for a segue?
We've had some additions to that merch store recently too, and I mean it's where you find everything AGN, of course. Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. It's where you find all the links to the shows in the network, but also where you find the fun stuff. Make sure you go and get yourself a T. Higgins Spit Roast shirt for your grandma this Christmas.
Yes, I know Grandma would absolutely love that, wouldn't she? Matty, we talked to Isaac. Dropped it as one of the positives for Jags fans weeks ago when your team was eliminated.
Yep.
He's still doing it. Brian Thomas Jr. What a find!
Yeah.
What a find!
I wasn't expecting him to be this good either because our offense isn't particularly good. So, yeah, he's really shown up. Here I was lamenting that we let Calvin Ridley out of the building for nothing. We just let him run away after we traded away a pick to get him, and then we didn't secure him, and now then Christian Kirk is your one, and I'm not sure he's a bona fide one in this league. Then he's hurt, and you've got nothing else behind it. PJ Washington, is that what you're looking at?
Parker
And all of a
Washington.
sudden this guy,
What's wrong with Parker Washington?
You go, is he really where I'm putting my faith? But yeah, Brian Thomas is really, he's well surpassed expectations, and I think what he's going to find is difficult now is next year he's dragged a lot of eyeballs to him, and it'll be difficult for him to succeed in the same way next year unless the Jags do something to try and help give that offense more dimension, so people can't just focus in on trying to take him away, because that will happen.
You give it, I reckon.
Yep.
You give it a couple of years, competent coaching, better quarterback play, better line play for the quarterback all round, and I reckon Brian Thomas Jr. will be talking about him up in the ilk of Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, that kind of level.
The connection there between those two and Brian Thomas, LSU boys.
Yeah.
LSU is a wide receiver factory.
Oh, it is, absolutely. But I think he just needs those few things in Jacksonville first to be able to come off with that, and it'll be amazing. I think the Jags
Throw
would
some
be...
money at a couple of line players and go and spend another draft pick on a nice plucky young receiver. That is a great start.
Put it in the right spot, though. That's the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. That's what she said.
Indeed.
All right, boys, we have been doing this little thing with Isaac, something Isaac came up with a little bit. I sort of suggested something and he ran with it over the past few weeks since around, I don't know, what were we doing, about week 12
About a month,
maybe?
isn't it? Yeah.
About a month, yep. So we've been doing this thing called Eliminated.
Eliminated.
And it's a course where we go through all the teams that have been eliminated this week, and we try and find some positives out of the negative of being eliminated for these fan bases, for fans of these teams that have been eliminated. So, are you boys, Manjot, Matty C, do you think you're up to the task of just carrying Isaac's very positive attitude forward for me?
Yes.
Manjot is.
Manjot's nodding, but I can't wait to see a 49ers fan talk confidently and positively about an eliminated Dallas team. So if you could start there, Ian, I'm just getting the popcorn ready.
I was always going to start with the Dallas Cowboys because we have been waiting weeks to play this stuff about the Dallas Cowboys. Isaac is very upset about the fact that this happened in this particular week where he is working, so he's not here to be part of this. But yeah, I know he was absolutely loving it. Dallas Cowboys, of course, miraculously won a game today, 26-24 over the Buccaneers, even though earlier in the day they had been eliminated from playoff contention thanks to the Eagles-Commanders game, and I believe something else in the NFC there, Manjot, wasn't it? The Rams game. Yep. So the Rams-Jets game, that killed their chances. So the Dallas Cowboys are 7-8 on the season, coming out of Week 16, and they are now, earlier than usual, officially eliminated.
Oh, me?
So, boys, Manjot, a positive out of the negative for Cowboys fans. Cowboys fans are inherently negative, but yet positive at the same time. We know that they always go through the start of the season being insanely positive about every season, and then we go through this annual cycle of them being shit and missing playoffs. So, what positives can they look forward to for 2025? Give me a couple.
Well, I feel like the draft, I think they'll have a pretty solid draft. They seem to have a pretty solid draft every time they miss the playoffs here and there. So I feel like they can get a guy. I'm thinking Ashton Genty, just really bolster up that running back core and just run with him like 100 carries a game, just force feed him carries and just get him to go to the house, take over the backfield. I think they would really love to have a guy like that. Even though the league devalues running backs a lot, I can definitely see the Cowboys spend a first-round pick on a running back. And I think Ashton Genty would be a good one to do so. So I feel like that's one thing. If they can get Ashton Genty or another great contributor in the draft, definitely that's something to look forward to for next year. And also, I don't think they will be worse than this next year. I think they'll definitely be on the improve. I think they'll definitely make it back to playoffs next year. I'd be very surprised if they missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. It's very un-Dallas-like the last few years.
Yeah, I think they can look forward to the possibility of new coaching. I don't know about the draft pick. I'm not up there with you. Brad definitely wouldn't be up there on drafting properly with you, Manjot, because he doesn't trust Jerry Jones as far as he could throw the little guy. But, yeah, I think they can look forward to possibly new coaching, maybe some new schemes, maybe someone unlocking some potential in both their very talented offense and their very talented defense, which is highly unlike them to have such a good roster and yet fall so far down. All right, another 7-8 team. Let's go with the Arizona Cardinals, who, as we spoke about earlier, lost to the Carolina Panthers this week, and thanks to those other AFC West results, and again, the Rams results, they are officially at 7-8, coming out of Week 16.
Eliminated.
Matty, have you got any positives for the Cardinals fans?
Well, I do, but I mean, it comes from a difficult place because I think if you're really looking at how this team's roster stacked up when they came into the year, it's hard to not look at them and say, man, they kind of overachieved. Like, their defense was meant to be the absolute worst on Pro Football Focus rankings, and they somehow managed to out-secondary a lot of teams and create a lot of turnovers and just kind of hold their own in spots on goal lines where you're pretty sure they're just getting run over if we took what we were asked to believe to be true. And then their offense was a little stop-start, but James Conner was really their really bright spot there. What's interesting for me, though, is like they got this wonderfully talented young receiver. You've got Marvin Harrison Jr. there. You've got this tight end who's been prolific all around the field, but just can't get in the end zone. I know we're going to talk about their end zone troubles a bit later on, but they've got enough pieces on the offense that their offense should be doing better than it is. It's just that Kyler's got no time to get that ball out. Their lines are their biggest problem. So what you're going to do here is you're going to find yourself on the edge of the top 10, so you can actually still get yourself a really useful position player in either offense or defense. It's not going to be like knock it out of the park, top 2 or 3 sort of pick credentialed sort of guys, but you can get a really solid guy. We saw the Chargers do something similar to that this year, where they picked in about this range last year. They go and pick up Joe Alt. It's helped their offense markedly. They're one of the better running teams this year. Just something positive like that would be good for the Cardinals, because they have overachieved. It will be difficult for them to repeat unless they do something procedurally good, because I kind of feel like they've drifted in to this like 7-8 record on fumes. So they just really need to show us that it wasn't a fluke.
Absolutely. All right, let's go with the team I think everybody is waiting to hear from Manjot about. And it is, of course, Manjot's San Francisco 49ers. It feels like we've been expecting this outcome, like the Dallas Cowboys, for weeks now. And it just seemed to be hanging in there because of the way the NFC West was structured all around, where 4 teams could have gotten into the playoffs at some point, had a chance to. But, of course, even with the Rams victory this week, which has put them up top, and despite the fact that Seattle lost to the Vikings, and despite the fact that the 49ers actually looked like the better team this week against the Miami Dolphins, they still ended up going down 29-17, and it wasn't courtesy of Tua Vungaloa or Tua Tagovailoa. I usually get that right, and I got that wrong today. Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill. It wasn't because of any of those guys. It was because of their kicker, Jason Sanders, who scored 17 points alone, almost topping the 49ers' total score. That means, with all the results in the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers are 6-9 in 2024 and officially
eliminated.
It's hard to hear that, Manjot. Matty had to hear that weeks ago from his team.
Yeah.
Manjot, diehard 49ers fan. A couple of small positives to come out of this. What do you think positives going into 2025?
Well, I'll be honest, not as hard now, because as you said, it's been so long since it's felt like we've been eliminated. So I think one thing, definitely draft position. I'm glad every time the Niners seem to just have a really bad season, they're really bad and they're always picking in the top 10 or close to it. Currently at pick 11, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to take that as a big positive. In a down year, got to get as high of a draft pick as possible. I think reinvesting in O-line and D-line for that pick as well would be amazing. And as I said for the Cowboys, it can't really get worse than this. The Niners had 1 million, trillion, billion injuries out there this whole season. We're down to like our 5th string running back at this point. And it's just like, at this point, it's really hard. But I think one positive I would have to say is some of the leaders, despite all the losses, they were still stepping up week to week. Fred Warner for sure. He looked like a defensive player of the year candidate in the first few weeks before he started playing on his bad broken ankle, broken foot. I can't remember which one, but he was just trying his hardest. Brock Purdy, despite all the pressure he was facing, he still was trying his hardest out there most games, and he was sort of having a down year this year. So I feel like he can bounce back, and the team around him can bounce back as long as they can stay healthy next season. So it can only get better from here. That's all I'm thinking.
Matty, I know you're itching to have a go at the 49ers. Give me a positive.
This is a positive segment.
I know. Can Matty do a positive for the 49ers?
Yeah, because what's difficult for the 49ers is they're aging, and they have sort of refused to go in on the youth aspect. And then when they do, you see a lot of the problems that they had in offensive execution day was because the young guys haven't had any time, because the old, egocentric guys have just taken all the snap time, and these young guys get no room. So, they lose 3 penalties in the same drive or over 2 drives, but Pearsall just doesn't even know where to line up. And it's because they're a team who desperately need to do the flush, get rid of some of their bad cap money, and then dive in on nice young, make some draft day moves and trade back a few spots and start picking up some young guys and get some blood out there and know that maybe next year will also be a tough year. But it's a tough year that's on the build. And I really think this is the time for them to do that. When else are you going to get this chance to just offload shitty old bad contracts from guys who aren't worth the money anymore? And I don't know that Manjot could disagree with that, because you can roll the same team out largely next year, and the problem you've got is they're all just as good as they were this year, but they're not, because they're all a year older, and you're still not giving your young guys any chance out there. I just feel like this is your moment. This is your moment to pivot.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to get a lot better as well emotionally, I think. We can get rid of some of the guys, and I mean, there's a lot of players this year who've had like personal tragedies and stuff. And it's just like a completely cursed year. And I feel like the whole team just probably needs a break, really, from everything, just everything football related. I think a long vacation would be great for the team, I think, and the fans as well. Just be able to like sort of not, the last couple of weeks, just play and then go home and just relax, I guess. Just go to Cancun and Cabo and wherever those vacation listings are. I'm literally roasting my own team right now. But yeah, just take a long, good, hard break. Shanahan and Lynch just make some tough decisions, as you said, Matty. I think we can be back up there next year.
Yeah, I think they have to. I think, and you might say, well, okay, maybe next year we're also like an 8-ish win team, but we're an 8-ish win team who are growing. We're not this like team who used to be good, who are trying to hang on to it. Like, and I think that's the danger here for the 49ers. And I don't know, Ian, don't you think that feels like I was trying to be positive?
No, that was positive. Well done, Matty.
That was pretty positive.
Well done, Matty. You did well.
Thanks.
All right, the last and fourth team that is officially eliminated this week out of week 16 is one that we had also thought was coming for weeks. They'd already punted a head coach earlier in the season and have been, picked up an amazing guy as an interim head coach who, in my opinion, Darren Rissy should probably just get the gig for at least next year, because who are you really going to get that's better to coach this Saints team, or who's really going to want to take on this job for this Saints team, because they have to be in a massive rebuild mode. I think we all thought they were going to do a little bit better this season, but it just went by the wayside. And I don't know, Derek Carr thinks he's from the South now, even though he was born in Middle America. And it's a very odd team and an odd dynamic. But officially, the New Orleans Saints are
eliminated.
I love that drop so much, to be honest. So, boys,
it's like, Terminator sort of shit right there.
It is almost, yes.
Let's know it's over, doesn't it? There's a finality about it. Let's just chef's kiss.
There is. Give us, boys, has anybody got a positive for the Saints going forward?
I think for me, so similar to you, Matty, but I think this is a sort of fire sale they can really start building around young guys now. I think get rid of guys like, Derek Carr probably would have to go. I feel like they can build around a young quarterback, but at the same time, I'm sort of like hesitant about saying that, because a young quarterback it's a bit of a shaky situation. But if you can get rid of like a lot of these old guys, they've been in cap hell for like years on years on years. They're always the team that has the most like negative cap money, like at some point in like December or January when it's projected for March. And I feel like this year they can finally get just absorb some of that dead money sort of thing, cut some guys and build around the draft and getting some young guys in free agency and just really make this team young again. I feel like this team's culture is still hanging on a lot to the Sean Payton days, the Drew Brees days even. They still think they're a similar sort of team. Even the hiring of Dennis Allen shows that, and the signing of Derek Carr as well. So I feel like once they get rid of all the old remnants of the old regime, they can really start to move forward. I think it's time for a new chapter. So that's the positive.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah. Fully on board with you, Manjot. This is the positive out of this, is that they can finally get rid of the Sean Payton, Drew Brees hangover. Like, shed all of
Yeah.
that negative stuff and then just move on as whoever the Saints are. And I'm serious that right now I think Darren Rizzi would be the best person to move forward with, at least for the next year, because there's just so much positivity that comes out of that guy, and you listen to him, and it's just he gets on really well with the guys that are there, locker room and stuff, and until you're a more attractive proposition to bigger, better coaches, I don't think you can really mess around with anything. And Darren Rizzi would 100% get a job somewhere else the next day after you get rid of him.
Maybe. I mean, they've definitely got big questions to answer, right? Coach, quarterback, how many of the parts of their aging defense do you want to hang on to? But, firstly, it's really funny to be talking about a team of 5-10 getting eliminated now, when in the same breath we've just talked about like these 7-win teams getting eliminated.
Yeah.
But that's just the beauty of
it was fun. The funny part about
perpetually winnable division.
That's right. The funny part about all 4 teams this week was that Rams win. That Rams win was that one win by one team just killed off so many teams in one hit. So it was
cleaned up a lot. Let's go with that.
It did clean up a lot.
There's a positivity you said there, Matty, as well. Was the division you're saying?
It's the division. It's perpetually winnable. But I don't know. If you're the Saints, you can continue to look at that as like, well, we could just come back next year and we may be in the mix immediately. But do you do that, or do you go, okay, Rizzi, let's keep you for one more year. What we're going to do is use this year to try and maneuver as many things as we can to try and free up as much cap and make our roster as young as we can to make us attractive for a long-term coach. Because who's hitting the market this year in coaching? You're getting none of the good ones. You're absolutely getting none of the good ones because you're not an attractive product for someone to take over. But if you lean into that and you say, hey, Darren, we're going to keep you on. You're going to get all our support. We're not going to fire you mid-season. Work with the guys. We'll try and shift some personnel around to try and make the situation better. And you're just going to have to hang in there and you'll get all our support. We won't put a heap of pressure on you. Make that a much more attractive spot for either then keep Ritzy and go long term with him, or go to market and get the best prospect for coaching after next season. Like, you've got to decide one or the other. Are we just going to slap it together with band-aids and try and win the division again next year, or are we going to try and turn into a long-term good football team?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you can already see that there's a couple of guys out there on the horizon in coaching terms that may be in for the coaching cycle for this next season, but would probably be better off if they waited one more, just because there would be better situations for them that would come up that they could mould as their own. One of those big ones, selfishly, would be Brian Flores. He absolutely should get another head coaching gig based off what he's been doing with Minnesota. But do I think it should be 2024? No, because I don't think there's that good he's a defensive coach, and it's a very hard thing to go on head coach when you're a defensive head coach these days, because it's an offensive league. So you really need to have a
Constantly
team
changing the rules to make your job harder.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. And you need to have a team that you can absolutely mould as your own from the beginning and not come in like halfway through. So I think you're right, Matty. Shed the dead weight, shed the old weight, get in there, get younger, become a more attractive prospect to a guy like that. That could really improve your team way more.
One or the other, because you could turn yourself into a 10-win team probably with some good free agent spending, and then you're on the edge of playoffs again, 9-10-win team in a division that could potentially win. But I mean, that's a deodorant move. That's not that's not actually healing the break. That's just putting a band-aid on.
Yeah, and I know.
Make a choice.
In theory, you've still got 3 more years of Spencer Rattler, and the kid isn't wholly terrible. He shouldn't be in the league yet. Like, he should not be starting as yet. He still needs 2 more seasons at least, sort of behind someone. But unless you can go out and find someone like, I don't know, Kirk Cousins at league minimum, because that's what he's going to be at.
That's what he's going to be at.
Yeah. Like, they should 100%.
That guy's won the contract lottery every year of his career that he's been up to sign. Franchise tag. Franchise tag again. The best guaranteed contract. The best second guaranteed contract. Another bucket of money to move to Atlanta.
The minute he clears waivers, the Saints should be in there going, come here, please, come here.
Yeah.
We need you to help with this young guy, and we need you to do this, and then we'll give you some money down the line somewhere. Yeah.
Hold the clipboard for this guy, or start in front of him for 3 weeks next year.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be.
Yeah. It was an awesome clip though, just on an aside, just to see him and Penix just do a pre-game prayer before the game, just seeing them sort of be united. Good leadership there by Kirk. He really took the benching really well. So I think he can be a pretty good mentor for a guy. And you can see it with Penix already as well.
I think
Funny too to see a team bench their quarterback after a win, only for them to start their new quarterback and go on and win as well. It's just, you don't see that all the time.
I think Kirk always knew that writing was on the wall, and they probably talked about that. It just accelerated earlier because it's just the way the season went. And not really through any fault of Kirk's, to be honest. It was more about
He just
everything
looked
happened.
old in about a month. He went from looking serviceable to just old. It was amazing. I've just never seen a guy age that quickly.
And I was serious about it this week when last week we talked about it with the boys. Just the fact that they played him in a totally wrong scheme. They're taking a guy that did well in this thing and played him differently, and you're like, why would you do that? But that's apparently that's the Falcons' MO, is just to play the weirdest football possible.
Completely. You've brought up a couple of times in rooms I've been in with you, and I just full of agreement with that. It was the oddest thing. And they're like, by the way, we need you to be successful too, Kirk. And it's like, that's not what I do.
Yes, the Falcons.
Okay.
Turns out the Falcons are going to Falcon. Who would have known?
I would have thought. Yeah, funny about that.
All right, boys. Let's go. We've got a few reactions to just bounce through from around the league from week 16. And why don't we start with a Cardinal who is having what seems to be an all-time season, but in one of the weirdest ways, Manjot. Trey McBride having a historic season, but where's the touchdowns, Manjot?
Oh, goodness. As a fantasy football player, I have him in a couple of leagues, and I'm like, yeah, I can't really start him yet over a guy like Kittle in my dynasty because, where's the touchdowns at? And he does have, if the season ended today, he would have the record for all time, a single season where you have the most catches without scoring a touchdown. He would have that record. And really, I just feel like it's been hard. They almost got him one today and he was interfered with. And I thought, why didn't they just throw a quick one to him on the next play? Why not? Just do it like Josh Allen, for example. Last week he was talking to, I think it was Shaquille, and he's like, hey, do you want it rushing or receiving? So I think Kyler just needs to go up to Trey McBride and say, hey, do you want a receiving touchdown right now? I'll just feed you one. And then just get him to go straight through the middle like Kelsey.
It's the oddest thing because the last 3 weeks they have been trying to get him a touchdown. 100%. You can see it. They are throwing him the ball in the weirdest of places, and then he'll run forward and get brought down on the 1 yard line. And you're like, oh my God, so painfully close. But I mean, Trey is currently at, for the record, right now, 92 receptions, tied for 7th in the league, 958 yards, which is 17th overall for the in receiving yards this season in the league, which is insane. Almost 1,000-yard season without a single touchdown.
Wow.
It's unreal too.
Yeah.
Like, so he goes free for about 46 targets. So they really went after him today. He only got 3 catches, but he is their number 1 target over Marvin Harrison Jr. He really is, because Marvin Harrison Jr. He's been playing against some great corners over the course of the year. He's learning. He's essentially learning. But if I was playing against the Cardinals, I would be looking to scheme out McBride at every chance I had to and say, beat me with your rookie, or run over me with your teeny tiny little running back, or that even teeny tinier quarterback. I'd be taking away the biggest known threat as well and scheming that away if I could too. So to me, it's not super surprising that he's finding it hard, because he's kind of the bright spot of their passing offense, and that's the first thing I'd be looking to take away.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting as well, because I think it was last night, the night before this recording, me and Matty were talking about the 2014 Chiefs that had 0
Yes, we were.
touchdown receptions from a wide receiver all season. So I spent a bit of time just looking at the stats, and their highest receiver in terms of wide receivers for that whole season was 754 yards, and that was Dwayne Bowe. So it goes to show, like, having 1,000 yards and having no touchdowns is kind of insane, as you said, Ian. So
it's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
All
right.
1,000 yards. That's so many yards. You're gonna run out of field one day, and you're gonna find yourself in an end zone. You're just going to.
Yeah.
How much field is there?
I know, boys. The Cincinnati Bengals finally turned it on for a complete team performance, beating the Cleveland Browns 24-6. They sacked DTR 5 times on defense. The punter got involved with 200 yards punting off 4 punts. 51 average on 4 punts is insane. And of course, the offense once again just balled out. Joe Burrow, 23 of 30, 252 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, a tutty and 97 through the air. T. Higgins is back with another tutty and 58 yards. It's just finally a team performance from the Bengals, despite the fact that their record is pretty bad.
Now, I'm going to come in with the cold water out of the gate and just say, I saw the note, I'm like, team performance, I was a bit unimpressed, Ian. I was a bit unimpressed.
Not fully impressed, Matty, but they played both offense and defense in one game, where it seems like they've just been playing offense and the defense has been going to Macca's. Like, it's just...
Can I just give you my... Okay, I'm just going to click notes on this and then let you tear me apart. But, like, I just found it so hard that this team was working against a defense who had nothing to play for and against an offense who had largely taken away the one thing that made them move. And they struggled all day to even get 2 scores ahead. I found it so unimpressive. The bit that is impressive for me, and Manjot will bring this up, is the statistical portion that Joe Burrow is continuing a loom spinning on. But I thought, this is about as close as you get to a free win in the NFL, and I didn't even think they did it well. So, they won, great job, but I largely don't think it was a terrific day for Cincinnati football. If I looked at that and had to judge the strength of this team, I would not think they're a particularly good team.
Yeah, I don't... Look, it's the offense that isn't so good, but the defense... it's a defense that's not particularly good, but the offense has been carrying them all season, as we know. And really, what we're going to find out is next week, a virtual playoff game for them against the Broncos. They're going to have to turn up. They're going to have to show their best. And that's how we'll really know how good they are, because I agree with you guys. I don't really see too much in today's performance. I think Dorian Thompson Robinson, he wasn't having too much of a good go. I think if they're playing Jameis, to be sorry to start the Jameis propaganda again, guys.
Do you think they would have won if they started Jameis? I'm starting to think they might have.
Yes.
If they played Jameis, they would have had a way better chance of winning. They would have made life hell for the Bengals. I don't know if they would have won, but I think they would have come awfully close if they didn't win. So, I think with DTR, they had like no bit of their offense,
and then all of a sudden Cincinnati spend all day just trying to get a little lead on them. I just thought the whole thing was horrid. I know they won, and a win in the NFL is a win in the NFL, but man, that is not a postcard of success today. And Burrow's 250-yard, 3-touchdown streak continues to a 7th game, never been done before. But mate, if this is not a statement of excellent Cincinnati football, and I'm hoping this is like their blip. If they're going to have to go and host a Denver team next week, who are, both of them have to win the game, that this is kind of one where they're just getting some rust out of spots, because if they play like that next week, Bo Nix will kill them. Bo Nix will just kill them. He's actually proven to be a really serviceable quarterback, and that defense is awful.
Yeah, the weirdest thing about the Bengals right now, and part of the reason I love to keep talking about them, is if they beat the Broncos, they go into Pittsburgh against the Steelers with every chance to pick up the 7th spot in the AFC. It is so weird. It's so weird considering how they've gone this season. Yeah.
It's about the most Zach Taylor thing ever, too. Like Bengals teams who start slow and finish hot. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But as you said last week, and you said this, you just said, just get a defense from somewhere, anywhere.
Yep. Pretty much.
Anything to stop another thing.
Just bring someone in.
If someone at home could bring in a doorstop, that'd be great. That'd be a good start. You can't rely on your opponent starting Dorial Thompson Robinson every week. Not every team has one of those as their starting quarterback. There's only one team who've got a starting quarterback that bad.
I know which name you're about to say there, man.
I was about to say it too.
Dorial Green Beckham. There you go. Very niche right there. 2015 NFL draft right there.
All right. The year of the running back continues, boys. We go through all kinds of Chinese years. In the NFL this season, it seems to be the year of the running back. This is some stats from just this week. JT, 29 carries, 218 yards. Prince Barkley, 29 carries, 150 yards. Chubb Hub, 25 carries, 152 yards. We can keep going. B-Rob, 22 carries, 94 yards. This is insane stats, boys. Running backs have accounted for 42,952 yards and 323 TDs so far this season.
I thought it was fantastic that you brought those numbers up because I never would have 100 years thought to go digging for all of that. But Manjot, isn't this weird that all of a sudden we're talking about, the running back's devalued, and all of a sudden there's a whole segment about running back's super valuable. Go.
Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of part, but I think a lot of it has to do with the rise of the Shanahan scheme. A lot of that has made running across the board very much a lot easier compared to maybe a few years ago before Kyle Shanahan's influence really started to take over the league. But you see running backs in that scheme, they're just cooking it up now, like every so often, and the zone blocking in that scheme is really opening space for running backs left and right, and they can just go through a hole. I think as well with that sort of scheme stuff, a lot of teams are not passing the ball deep anymore. There's a lot of safe passing, and that leads to a lot more reliance on the run game, a lot more safety football. Gone are the days of a gunslinger like Brett Favre or Peyton Manning being able to throw a few picks here and there. Once a guy starts throwing interceptions, well, they just take him off the field at this point. So it's very much a safety-first sort of offensive league at the moment, and that's why running backs are just gaining every so often this season.
But don't you also feel like this year, more years in the past, two teams have actually found the guy that matches what they do, and they can actually showcase him well, instead of just going, okay, we need a running back, let's just go and find the guy we can get for the least money. They're actually going, oh, okay, well, Philadelphia had always been a by committee and no one gets the ball more than 15 times a game team. Now they go and get the guy. They're not shy of giving him 25 plus touches, and it's their system changes because they got the right guy, and they're also uniquely set up to showcase him. And that's only one example of someone who brought in a team. You've also then got the example of someone like JT, who everything at the start of last year was so up and down. Was he getting traded? Was he even going to play for the team or hold out for a whole year? And then you look at him now in a team that's not even largely successful. He is the bit of their team that's actually really still looking good because they've set things up for him to be successful. And it kind of just feels like this year, more than any year in recent history, teams have really taken the time to pay attention to the importance of that. And it does seem to me now, well, that will eventually get caught up in the money terms, where running backs have been saying, we're not getting respected, we're doing all this work, and we're not getting the money for it. Well, now statistics will talk about that, and all of a sudden you'll just see that catch up.
Yeah.
Yep. And by comparison, receivers this season, 91,061 yards and 577 TDs. So running backs are just a little under half of what the wide receivers have achieved this season. There's a lot more wide receivers than running backs in the league, that's for sure.
Wow.
So, and that's just running back numbers, by the way. I've cut out everybody else rushing numbers. That was just running back numbers. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Let's get to some games, boys. The Eagles gave up 22 points in the second half as Jaden Daniels threw 5 TDs to sneak the Commanders home, 36-33. Commanders held the Eagles to just 4 field goals in the second half, scoring 2 touchdowns to get themselves within a sniff of the lead, with Daniels using practically every single pass catcher in the lineup in the 9-play, 57-yard final go-ahead drive to end the game. The Eagles have now ensured the NFC's number 1 seed will come down to either the Lions or Vikings in what will be an epic Week 18 matchup.
Oh, yes, indeed. And look, I've got to start talking up Jaden Daniels. I have to start there because I know a few weeks ago, you guys called for some mailbag overreactions. I was like one of the first guys to respond. I said he'd have like the greatest rookie season of all time. Hasn't quite panned out that way as he's had his rookie moments of struggling here and there. And he almost looked like he was going to lose Offensive Rookie of the Year to Bo Nix for a while. I think Jaden Daniels just won it today. I think he's won the award. That was a big game. A few weeks ago in Philly, he looked like he couldn't play football against the Eagles. It was just so bad. He was looking horrible against them. And even in the first half today, it was looking a lot of the same for the Commanders and their offense in general. But I think with Jaden Daniels, he found that lead, he turned the corner. And in the fourth quarter, in Washington, every single time they're playing an NFC rival, and especially a division rival, it always seems like the craziest circumstances. Of course, the Hail Mary against the Bears. Against the Cowboys, they scored like 40 combined points in the last like 2 minutes. And here we got another great one. I think Jaden Daniels, full credit to him. Just an incredible young quarterback, man.
I think he's the bright spot on that team. But, like, so nice job. Because, I mean, everyone agrees Philadelphia, they're no slouch on defense, right? So for him to go through and essentially throw up, 4 second-half touchdowns, fantastic. Really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
But, I mean, their defense is liable for letting this game take 59 minutes and 54 seconds to beat Kenny Pickett. So,
Yeah.
I don't believe Washington for a second. I believe Jaden Daniels, but I mean, this team is going to be the worst 7 seed in history. They're going to get into the playoffs and meet somebody who's got to win, loser leaves the country, in their venue, and they're going to get boat raced. It's just going to be like that time that Tampa Bay hosted the Eagles in Hurts' first year and they got boat raced. It was 31-14 at the end, but it was 31-0. For the, that was really the score.
I think
that's going to happen to
going
this
back to
horrible,
Philly.
horrible team who've got one good player. That's it. They've got one good player.
Yeah, and I think they're probably going back to Philly, to be honest, the way the seedings are going and everything. If there's a 7th seed and Philly's going to be the 2nd seed and the NFC North winner's the 1st seed, then I think, they'll definitely go back to Philly in that case. And
Kenny Pickett will not be starting that game, and it'll be in Philadelphia. It's going to be about 40-10.
Yeah, they did luck out a lot with Hurts getting injured halfway through. Like, Pickett has to come through and just save the day. It really screwed over a bunch of fantasy teams as well. I know our guy Taylor poured glass out for him tonight, everyone who's listening. He was a big victim of that Jalen Hurts injury. So was I. I'm also entitled to financial compensation for that too.
Financial? Listen to you.
If your fantasy team's been injured at work, you might be entitled to compensation. Ring Melly and Partners.
There we go.
Excellent.
Back to public defender.
Let's talk a little bit about Vikings football. Did the Vikings...
Yes.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Where's the skull? Where's the skull?
I've done it for Brad. Let's do it for Matty.
Yes.
It's not because I'm a Canberra guy, so, we go to the Raiders games here and we get the drum and the clap before the game there too. It's,
Yeah.
it's the whole thing.
Everyone stole it from Scandinavian teams. Did the Vikings silence the critics in beating a playoff caliber Seattle Seahawks team 27-24? Gino, JSN, and DK tried their hardest to get the Seahawks ahead at the right time, but it was yet another takeaway by the Minnesota defense that sealed the deal for the Vikings. After interceptions by Dallas Turner and Theo Jackson, the Vikings D now leads the leagues in interceptions with 22.
I mean, pressure was on for Darnold, right? Because the Lions finally dropped one. And he wasn't playing in the comfort of home. He was going on the road to Seattle, who haven't been a slouch, and their defense has been improving over the year. And I just feel like this was a real sort of statement for them to be like, yeah, we haven't been lucky. We're pretty legit. I thought it was a good postcard for them.
Manjot, KOC Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I've got him as my Coach of the Year. Put that one in the books as well. Definitely. I've covered up a few award winners myself for the Patient Performer of the Year awards, and I think I've got KOC as a lock for Coach of the Year. What he's done in a rebuilding year with Sam Darnold it's just been incredible, and really hats off to him. He's just been scheming it up for Darnold, and Darnold's been taking full advantage. You could even argue that he could be a comeback player of the year candidate there, Darnold.
If they hadn't changed the rules.
Yeah, even if it was, I did forget the rule change there. Yes, indeed. But yeah, if they hadn't changed the rules, and if there was a most improved player of the year, which I do award in the Patient Performer of the Year awards, I definitely got Sam Darnold as my one for this year so far. He's been incredible, and really, I don't think anyone else has improved as much. And by the way, the Vikings defense got to be the best entertainers in the entire league. Just like the third time in this whole season where they have a viral dance
The
go viral. And
touchdown celebrations.
Yes, indeed. And the interception, the Sally Cam, and you get Cam Bynum coaching these guys up on how to do dances. Shout out Cam Bynum, by the way. And really, it's just an incredible group of guys. And honestly, I hope they can go on and get far in this playoffs, because I want to see more than dances, really.
I think the problem that they've got, though, and this is funny because like we're just lauding how fun their secondary was today. I still think it's their weakest spot, right? And I don't necessarily know that's a massive problem in regular season play, but I think a loser leaves the country. This is going to be a team who, let's face it, they're probably going to be the fifth seed, probably. Through no fault of their own. That's just how these things work. Is the Lions, they may well just go on and win on and take the 1 seed, but then you've got to go on the road, and even if they've got to go to Tampa, I mean, that's not a guaranteed win in a loser leaves the country game going on the road to Tampa. Maybe it's a bit more if you're going to Atlanta. Maybe it's the same playing indoors. Maybe that's a little bit more, a little bit less of a risk. I just kind of feel like the liability is still their secondary, even though today they clearly had a pretty good day of it. I'm just kind of a little nervous if they don't sew up this 1 seed that's really going to show up in a way where, I don't know, the Lions have clearly got their defensive problems and they weren't pushed today. Whoever's going on the road from those two in the playoffs is in trouble.
Yeah, I agree, mate. They're the fifth most thrown on team in the league. Their defense is, but again,
their running game is tight, brother.
But,
oh my God, you cannot run on them.
You can't run on them all. So you've got to throw on them, and they encourage you to try and throw on them. And then look what happens: 22 interceptions, and all of that. They are second in takeaways for the season, just behind Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh have recovered way more fumbles, and that's
Every
the only
ever.
Yeah, I know, but it's just the Vikings D are there because of 22 interceptions, which is because they encourage you to throw on them because you can't run on them, and then the guys just do what Dallas Turner did today and absolutely read the quarterback and just step in front of a pass. So
and I mean, you could have sworn that pass was intended for him. It was just the timing of undercutting and taking off. It was beautifully done. As a fellow who played mainly offense. And I played a little defense. I did get an intercept in my career too. It was a play a little bit like that where you just get to undercut the route. And you kind of feel like, this guy could not have thrown this better for me.
Right. Yeah. Finally, for reactions today, the Bucs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we talked a little bit about them there with the Atlanta Falcons, of course, whoever comes out of that division. The Bucs decided the hard way is the only way forward after losing to the eliminated Dallas Cowboys 26-24. The Bucs must now hope that the Falcons lose to either the Commanders or the Panthers to help them secure their division and a playoff berth. That is right. The only way forward for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, it doesn't matter if they win or not, the Falcons need to lose.
I mean, what did you take from this game, Manjot? I've got my opinions on it, but what did you take away from the Bucs today, and what you think about them going forward then? Because
when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
It was a weird one.
I was really unhappy with the way they were playing around Baker. Baker was trying his heart out, and the rest of the team let him down. I've got to say it. Baker was like the best part of their team. He was the one guy that was putting them in the position to win, to come back. But his offensive line, firstly, was horrendous. That was the worst offensive line performance I've seen since 3 hours before when the 49ers were playing. But it was just that bad. It was a really bad offensive line performance from the Buccaneers. And it really just was the difference in this game. And I feel like the defense as well. You're letting up 26 to Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. They made Cooper Rush look like prime Troy Aikman out there. It was just that bad from the defensive side. So I think the trenches really, for both sides of the ball, have been really painful to watch in this game today.
It's just embarrassing because it's at home too. And I mean, so I know that Baker statistically didn't play a great game, but I mean, there was so many times when they showed the replay of a passing play downfield where, as you're behind Baker in like Madden mode there, and you're watching him pass, there is 4 white shirts in front of him, and they're all queuing up to be like, who gets credit for the pressure on this one, because the offensive line could not stop anything. All 4 of them would get there at the same time. So this poor bastard is just up against it. There's no way that he could possibly know where he was throwing that pill half the time. He's just got to rely on, here's where I knew I sent people. Jesus, they better be there by now, because I'm hurling it. And I mean, it probably exemplified by that intercept on the pass that was probably going to be down to the one anyway, but down to Jalen McMillan that gets ripped off him as they tumble into the end zone. That probably exemplifies the day for Baker, that he did so many things as well as he could, and just everywhere else, they just looked largely lost. That's all right, largely lost. That score really flattered the rest of the team, because Baker made that score happen.
Yep, sure did. And Matty, where Taylor and I have been on Mike Evans' watch for the last few weeks. Thank you very much for including those statistics in the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show last week. Well done.
You would love that.
I absolutely did love that when you brought that up. So, just as we bookend this Bucks talk, let's go on a bit of Mike Evans' watch and see where he's at. We need 13 more receptions, 182 yards, and 1 TD from the final 2 games. Entirely
That's a
possible.
one-game stat.
Entirely
That's a one-game
possible for
stat.
Mike Evans.
I
Entirely
remember
possible.
it was 10 or 11 touchdowns. So when we said he needs 10, isn't it? And he's
10
got 9.
touchdowns. He needs 70 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns to bring home the goods and the bag of cash, as it is.
So what you're asking for there is 6 for 90, and one of the games he gets a touchdown. He's
Basically.
pretty much a walking 6 for 90. So
Well-
I'd have no problem thinking he's going to get that.
They're up against the Panthers and then the Saints in Week 18. So
He's stat padding for sure.
stat
He's
pad.
got
And this week, Baker actually said, someone asked Baker about it in a conference, and he said whether Baker was aware of the Mike's stats and the fact that his 1,000-yard season is on the line, like he's continuing. And Baker said he is very aware of it, possibly more aware than Mike is. That Mike doesn't really care about it, but Baker's very aware of where Mike is in terms of his stats and where it should be. So, Week 18, let's just if you're in the betting stakes, just dial down on Mike Evans for a 200-yard game, because they will give every single bit that they can to get Mike Evans that 1,000-yard season. You can be assured of it.
But that's why even I would bet on. Like I'm
Same here,
I'm
Matty.
very
I do
staunchly
agree.
anti-betting, but even I'm like, maybe just going to ask Tay if he could throw 5 on for me.
It's just how it is.
Yeah, I'll have to
Down-
be in for
What are you
five
going to
on
bet,
that.
Tay? At
Down-
5?
Down the local tab. Tay just going into the random pubs and putting on tab bets. All right, boys. Thank you very much for joining me on a reaction show for Gday Gridiron this week. You've both been
Ian.
amazing and a great help.
Yes.
Love every minute of it. Love every minute of talking to you two. And yeah, hopefully we can always do it more often. Actually, we've got playoffs coming up, so we will be doing it more often, Matty.
We've got a whole month
Yay.
of doing it, which is going to be so good. From
AGN
week
playoffs.
19 on.
Yep. AGN playoffs. You need to look out for AGN playoffs. It's going to be superb.
Started messing around with some artwork for the podcast episodes too that I was sharing last night, and I don't know, I just kind of went down a rabbit hole. I couldn't help myself. Poor
Love
Mitchell
it.
was the
Love-
other one awake looking at it.
Loved all of it. I kept popping up on my phone while I was supposed to be going to sleep, and I had to end up muting the chat. Yeah,
Having a grand old time.
I know you were. I know.
It's too good, Matty. I can't wait for the playoff shows too. You know, it's been a long season away from a lot of the boys, but to come back, it's gonna be great. Can't wait.
We're gonna have
NFL
some.
analysis and a whole bunch of fantasy game in there too. Like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
We're going to be covering every single playoff game. You can be assured of that on G'day Gridiron and with just AGN in general. And some quality fantasy games that are going to be coming up. So make sure you look out for that. It is Christmas week, so everything's a little bit different here. Australian Christmases, obviously, we don't get to just sit and watch football, or it's not ingrained in our nature. So we will be out and about with our families in some very, very sunny parts of the country around Australia. So at the moment, you'll probably hear a couple of previews that I pre-recorded with Nick, Isaac, and Brad earlier in the week. You'll hear that after this for some early games because we really wanted to do some Christmas Day games. So you'll hear that after this episode. And later on in the week, you will hear another couple for the Monday games and maybe a bit of something else. I don't know yet, haven't really decided, but there will be something that will go with those that you will hear. So look out for that. Of course, you will be listening to this right now, hopefully on Christmas Day while your family is all asleep after a whole lot of Christmas lunch. So thank you very much for listening to the podcast on this merriest of Christmas days, and have a very Merry Christmas. We hope you've all had a good one. On behalf of myself, Matty C, and Manjot, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you later.
Hooray!
Thank you, everyone.
All right, so time for games we're here for week 17. Let's kick it off. We've got a couple of early games. Nick, do you want to kick us off with your game that you're here for this week?
Absolutely. So, the game that I'm here for, the Chiefs at Steelers, traveling to Pittsburgh. We know, the Chiefs most of the year have been, quite good in those close game situations. They've been able to, sort of get those wins just when they've really sort of struggled. They've had guys out a lot of the year at certain parts. They're slowly getting guys back together. Hollywood Brown coming back in, so adds another dimension to them going forward offensively. Going to Pittsburgh, we're just needing to try and make sure they cement their spot, not only just in the playoffs, but obviously trying to get that 3 seed as well, trying to clinch that one. Potentially maybe even a 2 seed as well, depending on the, maybe the Bills do an unthinkable and drop 1. Probably not. But you never know. But with the Chiefs, they have been most concerning. Their offensive line has been quite bad this year. It's something that they haven't sort of gotten quite together, which is weird for Andy Reid because he played as an O-lineman. So the most hits this season, Patrick Mahomes has taken the most hits this season out of every quarterback. So that's why, he had a high ankle sprain. So and he's still carrying that. So it'll be interesting. Traveling to Pittsburgh, -2, I think the line is. So I would probably
2.5.
2.5. Okay, so a field goal. So yeah, I'd probably say with the field goal, I'd probably lean towards the Steelers, but I think the Chiefs probably win a real close one, as they have done most of this year. But I think that the Steelers will be up and about for it. George Pickens, as well, should be back in the lineup. So should be something where Russell Wilson will be able to sort of flourish a bit more with those deep balls. And Pittsburgh will be up for it because they'll know, even after a tough game, tough divisional game against Baltimore, they'll need to back it up against the Chiefs because they'll know that they'll be seeing them probably at some point in the playoffs if they're wanting to go those steps further and get to the conference game and, maybe even the Super Bowl if they get everything right.
Yeah, it's going to be a dynamic matchup. What you say in the Chiefs, like you say, are winning all those 1-score games. I feel like this is one of those games where the Steelers are just Tomlin's gonna pull something out and they're gonna win in a close one. So I'm actually leaning towards the Steelers on this one.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
I
going to
hope
go
so.
with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just going to get it done. They do what they normally do.
Well, I don't know. I really want the Steelers, to be honest.
I think we all love the Steelers to win, but
I'm all about the underdogs. Let's go. Let's bring it on. Bring on chaos. That's all I need. Hit me with chaos. That's all we need.
I mean the Chiefs have that the Mahomes, or the mystique that they're trying to play up to. But more importantly, they're trying to make sure they secure that home field advantage, and I could see him. This could be one game where I could see him resting Mahomes. To be honest with you, we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yep, sure will be. All
It'll
right.
be even better if TJ Watt's playing against that O-line, like you were
Yeah.
saying before.
Yeah.
Mahomes might get hit a bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, get him in a bit of trouble. All right, Brad, what game are you here for?
Oh, ho, ho, ho. I am here for the Ravens at the Texans.
Here for the hose.
So you gotta love the Christmas Day games. Now after we're done here, I'm with this game. I got a question for you guys. But specifically in regards to I have a question about Christmas Day games. But in regards to this game, it's at the Texans. The thing is, the Texans have already locked up their division, so they don't necessarily have a whole lot to play for. The Ravens still got something to play for. So, and frankly, the way I see this panning out is I think these two teams, this is a precursor for they're going to meet in the playoffs. I think you're gonna have the Texans as the 4 seed. The Ravens are probably going to be the 5 seed. That's kind of how I see it playing out. And so I think this is going to have a little bit of that playoff vibe atmosphere. The concern I have with the Texans is just that offense. That offense is just sputtering a little bit, and they're slowly trying to find their rhythm. But we can see Stroud is just not the same guy as what he was last year, and I think a lot of that is the O-line and what have you, because they've got more weapons. I mean, you got Mixon, you got Diggs, but it's that O-line is struggling, and teams are changing up the defense. They're making him do things that he doesn't like to do. But that Texans defense, man, they are playing good. They're playing good ball. The concern with the Texas defense is they can't protect against routes over the middle. So, and you saw that the last couple games. What they're doing is, because the linebackers can't do coverage. They just can't. They can do the run, okay, but they can't do coverage. And so you're seeing they're playing this high, like a safety's back, and then when they know it's a pass play, these safeties or a run play, pass play, the safeties are just blitzing down, and they're just trying to create havoc. So it's fun to watch. If you ever watch the Texans on defense, or just pay attention to the safeties and what they do. Ravens are the Ravens, man. Jamal, he's just gonna come in and he's just gonna run around and create plays, and so it's. I think, believe it or not, I think MVP means something. So I think you're going to see him kind of going out and trying to ball out and win that MVP. I'd be curious to know if he has stuff in his clause, in his contract, that if he wins the MVP type of thing. So I think it should be a good game, but I think it's going to be a precursor to that playoff atmosphere. But I actually am going. I know a lot of people are leaning Texans, but I'm going heavy on the Ravens at -3.
I think the danger for the Texans is they finally shipped Derrick Henry out of their division, and then all of a sudden here he is in the first season back against the Texans, and Henry's going to be about 500-ish yards off the 2,000 mark, maybe about 600 yards off Eric Dickinson's 2,100 mark. So he could get that in one game against the Texans of old. So I think that's going to be the danger for the Texans here if he just runs up the score and we see a 3-touchdown, 300-yard game from Derrick Henry against the Texans again, because him versus the Texans alone has been absolutely astounding over the years.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. So I had a question for you guys, like, because this is it's a Boxing Day game for us, but it's a Christmas Day game in the States, and it's Netflix big premiere and that type of thing, for football, and I think you're going to see more and more live football on Netflix going into the future. But is if it was on Christmas Day here, would you guys go out of your way to watch it on Christmas Day, or would it just be something you'd be like, I've got too many things going on? I'm just curious as to know, because like for me, I'll have it on in the background, but much to the chagrin of my wife, but it's football, baby. We gotta have it on. So I'm just, would that be a thing for you guys to watch football or not?
Okay, next.
Christmas Day, I would.
Yeah.
I'd have to go out of my way, and I would probably be the same. People would probably get the shits with a little bit. I think my family would be more fascinated in the fact that I could be into that and would probably ask questions. In terms of my family, it's my wife's family that we may spend time with. So they'd be quite happy. I'd just find a way to have it on the TV, and they'd probably be asking questions about what's going on. And they'll watch basically anything if it's on TV anyway.
Okay.
Especially if it's sport, because we're such a sport-related family. So
okay.
I'm guessing Nick would have no problem. His dad's into football anyway.
Oh,
Not sure about your mum, if your mum tolerates it.
No. No one else. I mean, it'd be that's how it'd be set up. It'd be like me and my dad, and then like even my partner, like he's a Bengals fan, poor bastard. But it'd be the exact same thing there. We'd have it on, but I'd absolutely love it. If it was on here in Australia on Christmas Day, but I suppose on Boxing Day it's quite good. I mean, there's a lot of things that do happen on Boxing Day here anyway, so it would give you more screen time with that one sport, I suppose, if it was on here on the actual day. And it probably and to be honest, when it sort of does roll around where that time where there'll be the Sunday in America would be Christmas Eve. So that would mean all those games on the Monday would be here. So it has happened before, technically. So yeah.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. I think I'm with you, Brad. Isaac, would you go out of your way to watch it? Would you be allowed to watch it?
Probably at this stage in my life, my kids are coming first on Christmas, so it'll probably be on the phone, just on KO or something, or on Netflix if it's on Netflix. I'll look at it every now and then, but the main focus would probably be on family.
Yeah.
For me.
Well, no, I think it always has to be family, but if I had to choose between football and my daughter, it'd be close.
That's a job. That's a job.
Yes, it is. And Brad, I still haven't gotten in contact with her about the dossier she has on you.
Oh, mate. Oh, yeah.
I might have to message your son just to try and help hook me up here.
She keeps bringing it up. She's like, "Oh, be ready for the PowerPoint presentation."
I really want to see this PowerPoint presentation.
Just for the listener, my daughter has made a quote book for everything that has been said in the family. So this year, so it's going to be a doozy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be.
The Gday Gridiron podcast is brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, a network of Australian podcasts bringing the fun and a little bit of the Aussie larrikin to the NFL and fantasy football. Check out our other amazing productions. Australia's #1 fantasy football podcast, the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Everything about the local game at Aussie Gridiron today. MANJOT's Pastry Press on Instagram and YouTube, and Australia's very own Dynasty podcast, No Huddle Dynasty. Find links to everything at Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network.